Yes people, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Francis Official, and we finally got an alright day to go out on the SUR on. I think it's been 2 full solid weeks since we actually got a decent ride. So yeah, we're gonna get back out, try and have some fun today, get a video shot for you guys. I've been missing doing the content myself. I've really been itching to get back out and get some videos done, but say the weather in the UK right now is just not friendly. I want to give a big shout out to the South Coast SUR on. His channel has been putting out some great content recently, really been keeping me motivated to get back out and riding. He's a great guy, really friendly to chat to online, and yeah, he shoots some great videos, really interesting watch, so definitely go check him out. So from the start of the year I have managed to get some mods done to the bike. I did talk about this a bit in my previous sort of videos, but not really had a chance to show you all yet, so hopefully today I'll be able to give you a bit of a visual on what we've actually done to the bike and what we've changed on it and stuff like that. So I think before we get into the mods, let's have a quick rip around. It's nice having this sort of track that we can go around because it stops us having to go through too much mud and crap, and it keeps the bike nice and clean. Gives us that chance to use a bit of the speed that the bike does come with. You can see all the mud already flicking off my tyres. But yeah, it's a perfect little off-road sort of track. I think it actually used to be a gliding club. I imagine there would have been a load of barns and loads more things kept up here. Getting a nice wheelie in today. Managed to keep it up in the air for a second. That was more of a power wheelie. Can use those little lumps as a few jumps. It's good to get a bit of wheelie practice in up here as well. Again, going back to the mods, I have done a mod that has added so much more torque to the bike that really was worth doing. Like you may have seen in other videos, it dropped my top speed by a few miles an hour, really not by much, but it has given the bike so much extra torque. It was really a mod that was worth doing, so stay tuned for that mod to come. Let's start taking a look at the bike and what we have done to it from stock to now. I bought it stock in October. We're now roughly at the end of January, so we've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 months worth of parts, but I generally did most of the upgrades just after Christmas, beginning of January. So let's start off at the top of the bike. I did put some Pro Taper grips on just to go with the colour coding a bit more. They are the pillow grips. They're the black and orange ones. They really did make a difference, not so much with actually how they feel because I wear gloves, as you can see, but more just to the aesthetics and the looks of the bike. Really spiced it up a bit, much better than the grey stock grips that it comes with. I did go and buy these orange donuts as well because they are a bit of a softer touch if you don't wear gloves, and they cover up this grey on the grips there that you see. So yeah, they just colour coded the bike so much better. I think they were like, I don't know, 15 quid. So they weren't a major upgrade, but they made such a difference just looks wise to the bike. Definitely worth getting. Then the next mods that I guess we could say we've done, one that everyone seems to do on the SUR on, a really good mod to do, changes the look of the bike, changes the feel of the bike, is these riser bars. They are the Bergtech Josh Bryceland riser bars, I believe. They're 50mm of rise, so that's 2 inches overall, which doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to the stock SUR on bars, they make a huge difference to the ride of the bike. Just the riding position, if you stand up a lot, you've got that extra 2 inches just to put your hands on and get a bit nicer grip on the bars. And then if you're going to be wheeling or things like that, which I'm starting to do now, they just help with pulling that bike up and keeping it up in the air. It's so much more comfortable to ride with. They were definitely a mod that was worth doing. Took us probably, I don't know, half an hour to get those on, with changing the grips and all the switches and the speedo and everything else we've got on the bike. So because we did change the bars, we did have to change the headstock. This one was just a cheap one off of Amazon, and the reason being that we had to change it was because the new bars that I bought were slightly thicker in diameter than the old stock SUR bars, so these bars did not fit the stock SUR head clamp. Putting it on would have been a waste of time, so I did buy that. I think from Amazon it was about, again, 15-20 pound. Changing that didn't really change much on the bike. It just meant that I could actually fit the bars properly. Looks wise, it looks very similar to the stock SUR one that we had on anyway. So, and then keeping at the front of the bike, we did put the blinder light on in a previous video. I did do a video on how to do that. Really simple thing to do, really nice modification to the bike, definitely worth doing if you ask me. Let's turn it on and give you guys a look. So obviously it's not dark, but you can get just a sort of sense of what the bike looks like with that on. It looks a hell of a lot better with that light on than the stock SURRON light. I don't know why they bothered with the stock one, because it doesn't give you much visuals. It's not bright enough for night time to actually be riding. It's an oval shape, so you only get a small circle of light, whereas with this bar light, it literally lights up everything around you. In dark, you will not struggle to see a thing. And also with doing that headlight mod, we did have to go ahead and put the switch on as well. You're riding at night and you're riding in lit places, you don't really want people seeing you too much on it, or not around here anyway. So yeah, the switch was definitely worth putting on. Moving down the bike, we did actually fit this ignition plate. I pretty much had to do this mod because the plastic one that came on the bike ended up breaking where you put these two bolts in, so it was just flapping around and it was all loose. I have changed it now to a metal one, which I had to get a red one because the orange one just basically looked gold. I didn't really like it, but I think the red one suits the bike quite well, so I ended up going for the red one. I think that was about £23 from eBay. I could have got it elsewhere for more money, but the reason I went for this one off eBay is because it was just cheaper, exactly the same as all the other ones that you might buy. It just came from China, so it took an extra week or two to turn up, but it was definitely worth putting that on. All you have to do is change the USB plug and the ignition plate, and you can pretty much do that all from underneath, so it's a really easy mod to fit. The only thing that annoys me is the ignition doesn't properly clip into the hole underneath. It's not quite the right size, so sometimes when I'm taking the key in and out, it does actually pull the ignition out, like you might be able to see there. You can just see it just pulled it out, but I mean, it does push fit back in, but it's like I say, it's not the tightest of fits, and when I'm taking the key in and out, sometimes it does tend to sort of pull the whole ignition out, and sometimes while I'm riding it will come loose. I may have to look at changing that in the future. And I can just see one of my cables is starting to break through there. I don't know why it's starting to do that, but I need to get that fixed and get some tape on it. So yeah, that's the ignition plate that I changed. Moving on down the bike, I guess the next thing would be the foot pegs that I changed. A lot of people change these pegs just because the stock ones are seriously that bad. I mean, if you just buy the bike and you're looking to have a bit of fun here and there on it, it's not that deep, but putting these on has made a huge difference with grip, with the looks of the bike. They're so much wider than the stock ones. They're not silver like the stock ones, they're black, so they fit the rest of the bike so much better. Again, they were just a cheap upgrade, a cheap mod. I think they're about, again, 20 quid from either Amazon or eBay. Nothing too fancy, but makes such a difference to the bike. Definitely changed the aesthetics of the bike. Again, well worth doing. Nice little mod to change. Then moving backwards on the bike, we did put a 56 tooth sprocket on, which was what I was on about earlier, making the torque difference so much more. We did have to fit a new chain with it. Chain wasn't too expensive, neither was the sprocket. I think the sprocket was about 40 quid and the chain was about 15-20 quid, but changing this really did make a huge difference to the torque of the bike. You've probably seen videos on YouTube by other people who do change their sprocket and will tell you the torque increase probably a bit better than I will. You lose maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour on the top speed of the bike, but it gives you endless more torque. You can wheelie so much more easier, which is really what I was looking for. Bike does have a lot more power, sort of. If you're doing 20 miles an hour and you hit the throttle, you will feel that extra torque while you're going. People also say if you're doing hill climbs and things like that, it gives you that extra torque just to get up there, keep the wheel sort of gripped and keep it spinning nicely to get you up the top of the hill climb. Having a non-O-ring chain, which this one is a non-O-ring, the other one is an O-ring, it's a bit looser, a bit more flexible, but you do have to lube it quite a bit more, but that will also make quite a big difference to your bike. Just gives it that bit more freedom to move, has a lot more flexibility when the bike's sort of accelerating. So again, doing that chain was so worth it. And then sort of getting towards the end of the mods, which you may have already been able to tell looking at the bike just like this, I have got some Dunlop MX33 tyres put on. I think that's right, I might be wrong. My boss actually got me these for my birthday, so shout out to him. They were a wicked present to get me, really, because I was looking for some new tyres anyway. They're so much more fitting for the bike. They were actually quite easy to fit, although I did scratch my rim, like I'll show you here. As you can see, these scratches, I did scratch my rims quite badly putting them on, but that's just me being an amateur and not taking my time, getting a bit too excited to get them on. But overall, the tread on the tyres is so much thicker, so for the places I'm going to be riding, really worth doing that mod. The grip it's added already, even though my old tyres weren't really worn, it's 10 out of 10. Literally, I could corner so much lower, so much faster, not slip out anymore. It was really worth putting them on. I've not really ridden them to their full potential yet. Yeah, they're the Dunlop MX33s. Front and back tyre are both the same sizes. Did have to get some new inner tubes as well while I was at it, because I got a puncture in my back, so while I was doing the back, I might as well do the front at the same time, so I ended up doing them. I think they're about £144 for the pair of tyres. Overall, they changed the look of the bike. They definitely changed the feel of the bike. They weren't too hard to put on. Like I say, I was just amateur and didn't take my time enough, so I ended up scratching my rims. Even though I had proper tyre levers, I didn't really take enough time and do it carefully. But the rims are going to get scratched and things anyway. I'm going to end up trashing these wheels and probably getting some new ones in future. I have got a peg spacer, which I forgot to mention as well. It's not really a major mod, but not sure if you can really see that in there. It's just this bar. Again, another cheap mod that's worth doing, really. It stops those brackets from sort of flexing, even if you're just standing up on the bike, or if you fall off, it just stops them bending and breaking. And while we're on the talk of little mods, again I did a video on these. I put the hugger guard and the mud flap on. Most of the bikes come with a hugger anyway. I don't know why mine didn't, but I just stuck that on just for the sake of it. It does stop a lot of mud getting flicked up there, and this mud flap was definitely worth it. This part of the bike rarely gets dirty. This is probably about as dirty as it will get on most of my rides. Stops the motor from getting caked in crap as well. So for the tenner that I think that it cost me and the 5 minutes it took to put that on, that was definitely a mod that was worth doing too. So overall I think I've looked at most of the mods that I've done on the bike. Let me know in the comments down below whether you like the mods that I've done, whether you think it was worth doing these mods. I definitely think it was worth doing most of them. It's definitely changed the look and the aesthetics of the bike. Looks a hell of a lot better now, rides a lot better. I'm a lot more confident riding in fields and up things like that, just with the extra torque and the extra grip on the tyres. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you think it looks nice? Do you think they were worth doing? Do you think I've wasted my time or money on some of the mods? Apart from that, most of this bike is pretty much stock. I've not really touched anything to do with the control or a motor. Really not touched the suspension. Battery's still stock. Seat and all the plastics, everything I've just left alone for the time being. There may be some graphics change in the future, but for now I'm quite liking the black and orange sort of vibes. But that pretty much sums up everything that I've done to the bike. So let's carry on with the ride. This is the sort of place we should be trying some wheelies out, really. We can get better than that. That's probably the longest one I've done, but it ended up in a power wheelie. So this is what I mean about the sprocket making difference with the torque. I'm doing about 15 mile an hour, and I can just throw that wheel up in the air if I want to, which with the old sprocket, I think it's 48 tooth sprocket, it just wouldn't have had that torque to have done that. Whereas with this sprocket, it's only 8 more teeth, but it's made that much difference that you can just have the power just to lift that front end up, just doing a bit more of a higher speed. So if we do about 6 mile an hour, it's easy to get up there. I'm just rubbish at wheeling. I will find the balance point and keep it there one day. Just need to keep saying back brake, back brake, back brake. What battery are we on? We're on 78% battery. We left today with 94, so not doing too badly again. Not quite used 20% of the battery, and I've been out for a good half an hour riding around now, I would have said. That was something else that I forgot to mention about with the sprocket. People say that you will actually get a bit more range out of the bike having a bigger sprocket on, because you're not quite getting the top mile an hour that you were before, and the bike's using less power to sort of propel you forwards. I'm not sure if that's true, or I would have to do a proper test and probably put the old sprocket back on and get a proper reading of that to really tell you the ins and outs properly. But from what I can experience, I've not used the battery long enough to really have an opinion on that. Let's do a little bit of a full speed test. So we're getting 40, 45. 45 is definitely the fastest I've had since putting the new chain on. I think I was hitting 44 before, and I still had time to keep going then. I think before I was hitting sort of 47. 52 is the max speed it says on the speedo, but that was probably going downhill with a full battery flat out. We will give it a quick test along here as soon as it's flat and dry. So we're getting 40, 44, 45, 46, 47. So that is actually the speed we were getting before without doing the sprocket upgrade. So to be honest, I think really putting a new sprocket on hasn't changed the top speed. It just takes that little bit extra to get there. Now let's go for some wheelies. We can get better than that. We're going for the best one yet. That was the balance point and I just crapped it. I think I was going too far back. A lot of people say it's easier to start with like your feet on the floor and getting the bike up in the air and getting a feel for it, but I just can't do that myself. Like, I don't know if that would be the balance point or not. I don't feel comfortable doing it, I know that much. And I don't know how people do endos on bikes like these either. Oh, I definitely leant too far back on that one. Oh no. Oh, the ignition's popped out, so I can't even turn the bike off. This is what people go on about the handlebars when you stack it. They end up twisting out. Hopefully we've not scuffed the bike up too hard. I think the grip took most of the brunt. Yep. For fuck's sake. Right, the bike's definitely off. Before we go trying to change that. And this is why you bring your toolkit, so when this does happen you can sort it out a bit. I think it's just put the bars out of line a bit. I don't think it's done much else. We'll turn the bike on and make sure it still runs properly. We've still got power, we're just awfully out of line. I don't know if you can see, but those bars are definitely bent out of line. Hopefully I've not bent the actual bars altogether. Definitely gonna have to stop and have a look, I think. Well, that's the first sort of major crash on the SURRON. I'm glad I was going backwards. I think really we're all good apart from the bars being out of line, and that's why people say get the direct mount. But with the direct mount, they're not. Oh, that's the biggest wounder. I heard something scrape on the floor and it was the brake lever. I think that's the biggest bit of damage we've actually done to it. Maybe scraped. Yeah, we got the foot peg quite a bit. That's a bit of a wounder. I think it actually popped the spring off as well somehow. It does seem to spring back, but I think it's popped the spring off, so we've got a really loose foot peg now. Hopefully it's not bent the sprocket or anything too badly. I'm not sure what it would have slid on at the back. What a wounder! Right, bike off again. Put the ignition back in. Let's see if we can get these bars straightened out a bit. This is why you bring your tools with you, man. There's no way I'm getting that back in line. I don't know, my front wheel or my mudguard doesn't look straight anymore. That might be a bit of a problem. I think it's actually just bent the mudguard round if anything, but I'm not sure how it would do that. I mean, everything seems to roll all right. I think that's maybe a good sign that we send it back home and fix the bike up and get her cleaned up again. Luckily this is why I wear knee pads and a chest protection to stop anything from actually hurting me if I do fall off. We'll see the full extent of the damage when we get back. Like I say, I think it's not a good idea to continue trying to bend the bars. I think we'll end up damaging the forks more than anything. So now we've got a few things to put right on the old SURRON. Be a nice little bit of entertainment for you on the video. I don't even know really what I was doing. I think I just stood too far back and caught the throttle and my hand got stuck on the throttle. Honestly, no idea. At the minute it's the handlebars not being straight that's really getting on my nerves. If there's people that ride with their bars out of line all the time, I would love to know how they do that, because this already is putting me off big time. Definitely not going to try any wheelies with my bars like this, definitely not. I did watch the video of the South Coast SURRON guy falling off of his SURRON, and I was having a good old giggle at that, so now it's his turn to have a giggle at me. If you're watching this South Coast SURRON, you have permission to laugh at me and put a funny comment down below on how unfortunate that crash was for me. All I can say is I'm glad I'm alright as well and laughing it off, because I mean really it could have been a nasty one and I was doing a lot quicker, but thankfully I wasn't. We'll leave the video here. If you have enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you do enjoy my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more to come in the future. Give me that motivation to keep posting, even though I'm going to keep posting anyway. I hope you have a really good rest of your day, much better than the rest of mine, fixing up this bike. And yeah, I'm Matt Francis, signing out. Peace!